Kung Fu Panda 4 is a good movie, but not as good as any of the previous 3 movies. And that says a lot. I have a lot of things to discuss, so let's skadoosh. So when you come to the 4th movie of any franchise, you are naturally out of things and you are naturally out of stories to tell. You are naturally out of the elements that you could surprise people with. And with Kung Fu Panda 4, you have the story of kind of passing on the baton. Like we have our established Dragon Warrior, but then Master Shifu comes up and says, "Hey Pooh, you can't be the Dragon Warrior anymore. So you should find a successor." For that, Pooh is naturally resistant, and that's how the story of this movie begins. Now if you have watched the trailer, you know that the villain of this movie was the talk of the town because the villain was a chameleon. Now as chameleon changes color, this chameleon can change into different people, and there were also a lot of talks that the previous villains, I mean all of the previous villains of this Kung Fu Panda film franchise will be back in this movie and will again fight with Pooh. That happens. Now the thing is, even with this great concept of bringing back all the previous villains organically, the fights at the end doesn't feel that great. I mean, I would still rate the fight in the second movie the top class fight of this entire film franchise, and I think the second movie is perhaps the best movie as well. But the other thing that we get with Kung Fu Panda movies is a lot of humor. I mean a lot of humor, a lot of jokes. And again, this movie isn't that funny. I mean, yeah, it is funny at times, but you know, you expect this amount of funniness from a Kung Fu Panda movie, but you somehow manage to get this amount of funniness from this movie. Now another thing that comes with the Kung Fu Panda movies is some spiritually enhanced thing that you can learn at the end of the movie. Now you learn that as well in this movie, that how Pooh has to, you know, finally surrender and give up being the Dragon Warrior and actually find a successor. But still it doesn't feel like a big finish, but yeah, it does feel like closing the chapter on Pooh. Now, I mean closing the chapter on Pooh being a Dragon Warrior. And if I talk about one shocking element in this movie, and I don't think it's a spoiler at this point of time, but the Furious 5 are missing in this movie. They are completely gone, and I was like, they in fact give a legitimate reason at the start of the movie, but I was a bit skeptical about that. I was like, what's Kung Fu Panda doing without the Furious 5? They are also the soul of the movie. But then I realized as the story moved forward that okay, that was probably the right decision to cut out the Furious 5 of the story, and this is majorly just the story of Pooh coming to terms with he has to find a successor and not being the Dragon Warrior anymore. Now I would like to say, I think until the half length of the movie I was like, I'm not sure about this movie, but the moment I said this, the movie started to find a bit of heart, a bit of soul in this structure, and I was kind of okay with that. And while you get to the end of the movie, the climax, the third act of the movie, you could say kind of saves the movie. Now I don't mean to say that Kung Fu Panda 4 is a bad movie, but it's definitely not on par with the other 3 movies that we have got in this franchise. I mean, the humor is alright, then the fight sequences are alright, the story itself is alright, and it's kind of a natural thing to do when you are in the 4th part of a franchise. Like, you have to find a successor, you have to transition out of the Pooh thing. So yeah, Kung Fu Panda 4 is an alright movie. It's not the best of this movie of the Kung Fu Panda franchise, but it's still watchable, it's still good. But again, as I said, it's not as good as any of the 3 previous movies. If you have already seen the movie, please share your thoughts in the comment section, and as always, thank you so much for watching.